News out of Russia tonight about the fight to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin is not so subtly dragging his feet. Putin says talk of sanctions against Iran is premature and, quote, there is no need to frighten the Iranians. Well, Putin's comments come after a two-day visit to Moscow by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. So what now? Can Iran be stopped? Dr. Henry Kissinger went on the record with Greta.
Iran. Who is dealing, supplying, helping Iran in their nuclear program? Do we know which country is helping them? Or are they doing this themselves?
It depends what program we're talking about.
Not the civilian one. I'm not worried about the civilian one, if indeed it's truly civilian, but there's so much suspicion that it's far more than a civilian nuclear power program.
No, I'm convinced that it's a nuclear weapons program. And they don't need a civilian power program at that level if all they wanted were power. So the civilian program, though, insofar as it can be separated, gets help from various countries on a commercial basis. On the weapons program, they probably had help from North Korea on the missiles and who helped them on the warhead design. It's hard to know, and of course there's a debate. Some in our intelligence community think they have stopped working on warheads. Others would think that they probably haven't, but even if they have, it's because the design is finished and they don't need to do any more work. I have no doubt in my mind that they're working on a weapons program. And I don't know anybody who has studied that issue who has a different opinion on this subject.
With the intelligence that's being reported, the intelligence community gives us somewhat of a leeway before they will actually have a nuclear weapon. Intelligence has been so wrong so often that I'm curious whether you feel the least bit secure that this is years off, or whether we really need to, be aggressive in facing down this issue, whatever that may be.
I don't think it's that far off. And I don't think there will be an absolutely clear dividing line. I mean, there won't be a point where you can say now they're only a year away. What will probably happen is that in that evolution, a point will be reached when they do some testing, which has scientific reason to show them it's working, but above all to show the world that they have it. I would think from all I've read, most people think that anything from a year to 2 years is when they can have a tested weapon.
Can Israel afford to go alone on this issue in terms of taking the hard line with Iran?
The dilemma of Israel is this. If you're Prime Minister of Israel, and you know you have 2 or 3 cities in a very small area, and if you know that even in the war over Lebanon, the northern part of Israel, under fire from conventional weapons, really got paralyzed, you might say to yourself, I just can't take that chance that a few nuclear weapons hit my country.
So in light of that, what should we be doing? What should the United States be doing vis-a-vis Iran? More sanctions, more talks, more what?
As a general matter of diplomacy, I believe we should never approach a military solution without having had a diplomatic phase, because we have to explain to the American public that we tried everything to come up with a solution that saves lives and produces a constructive international order. So I wouldn't put negotiation and sanctions as alternatives to each other. On the other hand, we have to get clear in our mind that if Iran becomes a nuclear country, it will change the world. It will change the world because when you look at the impact that North Korea at the edge of the world almost has had with its minuscule program, then an Iranian program would have a huge impact. But secondly, Iran is so located that all the surrounding countries would have an incentive to develop nuclear weapons as a protection, not just Israel, but Saudi Arabia, Turkey. Then when you get into a world where many countries have nuclear weapons, we will live in a totally different environment. We have not yet seen the impact of having 100,000 people killed in an hour. When New York was attacked, 3,000 people were killed. All the hospitals remained intact. All the support system of the city continued to function. But if a city is wiped out with all the utilities down, all the hospitals closed, that's a new world, because the public will then demand that either somebody wipes out all these weapons or finds some other solution. So therefore, we have to convey that nuclear weapons in Iran are a very grave matter.
Up next.